May God be with you.
And also with you.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, Lord.
Immediately, the Spirit drove Jesus out into the wilderness, and he remained there for 40 days and was tempted by Satan. He was with the wild beasts, and angels looked after him. After John's arrest, Jesus appeared in Galilee, proclaiming the good news of God. This is a time of fulfillment. The reign of God is at hand. Change your hearts and minds and believe this good news, the good news of salvation. It almost seems like the holidays. As many of you know, that I put together the worship aid that people online use each week. And I send out the announcements and prepare the scripts that the presiders use each week. And a few other odds and ends. So one of the things is that if anyone is interested in helping with anything pertaining to liturgy, from tasks to even planning, see me, because we could use more help. So this past week, from Sunday through Sunday, there were 4 liturgies, four liturgies instead of the 2, each Sunday. So we began Lent on Wednesday, and many of you participated in our Ash Wednesday service, which was the first time we had an in-person service since 2020. It was those days right before the pandemic started. And yesterday we had the memorial liturgy for Jimmy Lopez Acosta. And he'll be sorely missed, tremendously missed. And he made a mark on our community, and from being the driving force of our diversity group, which has done at least 1 to 2 events a year. And I believe August was the potluck, which was the last event I think the diversity group put on. And he was on our liturgy committee, and through his initial efforts, we have had 4 guest homilists from Jose Miguel Roman, Robert Mason, and Daniel Leva. So it would be wonderful if we can continue the work that he did. Maybe not necessarily as he did it, but in the spirit of embracing and diversity. And Jose will be back with us next month to preach, and we hope that Robert will join us during the Easter season. And it would be wonderful if the diversity group continues to meet and plan activities and do the work. So tonight's reflection is going to be a little shorter than my previous ones. We begin with Noah and the flood. It's a fantastical story. 600 years old Noah was. And I seem to recall my grandmother saying that she wanted to live to be 110. And when she was in her late 80s, she was no longer saying that. She had broken her hip, and in fact she broke it twice. And instead of calling the ambulance the first time, the ambulance right away in the evening, she waited till morning. So she never fully recovered from that. So medicine being what it is today, it's hard to imagine that Noah actually lived at least to 601 years. I think they were using that as an example of someone who was holy, that they lived a long life. So when we have seen many images and skits of the animals walking 2 by 2 into the ark, and unless Noah was able to shrink all those animals into stuffed animals so they could board when they got on the ship, there wasn't enough room for all the animals of the earth. And never mind the animals, they also had to feed them for 40 days at least. So there was no ship at that point that could hold all those animals. It'd have to be like the Queen Mary or any of those new cruise lines ships to at least even hold some of the animals. So the story there is to really remind us of God's covenant to the people. And God presented a rainbow so that it would be a constant reminder of that covenant. And it's no wonder that the rainbow is a perfect symbol for our community, because it reminds us of God's covenant with the people. And, for us to say that we're created with dignity and respect in the eyes of God, that God loves us. And in our gospel, we have 40 days. Mark does not dwell on the temptation. Mark notes that he had angels to assist him, and he was with wild beasts. Interesting combination there. But there's a significance to 40. The number 40 recalls the years of the Hebrew people wandering in the desert, as well as the number of days it rained in the flood, according to one version. It's also the number of days that the church counts between Jesus' resurrection and ascension. There was a widespread agreement that the number 40 is symbolic and significant, though its precise meaning is debated. Some say that 40 years is a time span of one generation, and others note that 40 weeks is the approximate time from conception to birth. And there was even some scientists have pointed out that early solar calendars marking each 40 consecutive day. So 40 has a big significance, and it's about change and transformation. And it's about dying to self, and something within us changes. There's a new outlook, and usually marked by some event or catalyst. COVID was one of those transformative periods, and where initially everyone was isolated. And how do we make connections when everyone's isolated? So Zoom, better or worse, was very instrumental in transforming our community, and it kept it intact. And there were some organizations and businesses that could not survive the pandemic, and they disappeared. So just to keep, and there were businesses though, of course, there were people and businesses that took advantage. So transformation could go both ways, took advantage of people. At Dignity, New York, we have been transformed many times through trials and tribulations and temptations. First as an organization and as a movement, we validated our lives and our loves by stating in 1987 that we could express our sexuality in a manner that is consonant with Christ's teaching. Of course, when you do something bold like that and being honest with ourselves, there's repercussions. And that was the Ratzinger letter, the Halloween letter, and the expulsion of just about every Dignity chapter in the United States from Catholic space. But it also was a time of liberation for many communities, but it was a curse for some because they failed and they could not survive. In our time, by the end of the 2010s, we lost many of our priests, and we were at a crossroads. Either we have liturgy only when we had a priest, or we can call people from our community to lead us in prayer. So our history is not over, and there's many other examples that we could use. And we have many more chapters to go. Hopefully we will survive another 50 years or more. As individuals, we can look back to our own transformative times where there were struggles and temptations, and how did we overcome them? And I hope you're able to spend some time in the next couple of days reflecting on that. How will you spend this Lent, making it a transformative time?